Well, good afternoon, listeners. Thank you for listening to Lament of Hope podcast, and thank you for just coming on, listening to a new conversation. And I'm very blessed today to be speaking with Callum Blue. Those of you, he's very popular for several television shows. He's been in a ton of TV shows, and I was looking at all of them. He's been in several main cast character roles, and then he's appeared in several. And then growing up, obviously, I first saw him when he was in Princess Diaries as the prince that Anna Hathaway doesn't marry and goes for the other guy. But I
All right,
remember
rub it in.
thinking, well, I remember thinking you were such a sweet guy. So, like, by the time it was over, it was like, yeah, I guess you were happy that she was with the other guy because she really liked him, but you were really nice, and so no one could not like you. I didn't think anyway. And it was kind of the person that your parents were like, this is the good person to marry, whereas the other guy is going to cause a lot of problems down the road. So it's like, but anyway, so it's been such a gift to connect with him here. He's on a bit of a vacation, so it's nice to be able to talk with him. But Callum, you were telling me before we started that you just directed a film. Now, is this your first film you directed, and what's it about, and what is it?
Yes, it is my first film.
Okay.
I directed it last year. Speaking of Princess Diaries, Heather Matarazzo, who plays her best friend, is the star of the movie. And I'm working on the feature, and it's in development. So
Okay.
that is where my passion is, and that's where my future lies, I think. So, and
What's it about?
it's about a character in a movie who wakes up and realizes she's a character in a movie.
Oh. So
Yeah.
she's like, she's almost stuck in the movie? Like she can't get out of the movie? Or is the movie.
Aren't we all?
I mean, it's a good question. Yeah. So
Um,
the thesis of it is it's a person who's stuck in a movie.
she's stuck in a movie, not just that, she's stuck with the characters around her
Okay.
who are playing their parts perfectly to challenge her, traumatize her, and to eventually push her into realizing that she can break out of the movie and realize that all of this around her is an illusion. And then she can start to navigate and write her own story with the co-creator, with the father, instead of trauma loops and stories that we create about ourselves. Things that we think we can't do, things that we've been told that we are, that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy. A lot of us are stuck in those roles. A lot of us are stuck in those relationships. And once you realize that you're stuck in these roles from trauma, you can start to break out of it.
Yeah. What gave you the idea? Because it's a deep premise, but also it is very specific.
Mushroom journeys.
That took me a second. I was like, what? Oh.
I'm talking of the magic variety.
Yeah.
I
I was going to say mushrooms
with...
didn't do that to me, and then I realized what you meant.
You're like, these oyster mushrooms are delicious. They didn't give me a spiritual awakening. I started to work with psychedelics probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
And bit by bit by bit, I've had what I could only call an awakening. And I started to realize that the character that I was playing, that I had developed, called Callum Blue,
Yeah.
wasn't really me. That wasn't who I was.
Huh.
And
And it came while you were engaging in psychedelics? That's how you came to it?
not all at once, but the more that I worked with them and the
Okay.
more that they revealed themselves to me, it was a slower process because here's one thing, and this is what's in the movie. It's a pretty scary thing to lose your identity because we tend to cling on to it. Because the question is, who are we if we're not the character that we are playing, that we have developed? What I started to personally realize is that the character that I had created, by the way, even my name was created. My whole name is Daniel James Callum Blue.
Oh
And
wow.
I didn't want to be Daniel anymore. I didn't like him. He was the traumatized kid. He was the bullied kid. He was the kid that didn't think he was good enough. He was the kid that never thought he would make it. So I even sat down and created this Callum Blue character, and started to play him. And it worked for me for a while because I was pretty successful. I earned lots of money. I bought houses, got cars, was with all the cool people and movie stars, royalty, rock stars. It worked for a while until it didn't, until I just started to think, is this really it? Is this really who I am,
Hmm.
what I am? And it was all my dreams come true. Don't get me wrong. Like on the outside,
Yeah.
it was like, wow, I've made it. But something deeper in me was telling me, this is not it. This isn't it. So it was roundabout the Princess Diaries 2. Even though I worked a long time after that, it was like, you got the two movie stars and me who, they went off to be these movie stars. And, I worked and I earned money and everything. But, my when I was a kid, my ambition and my need was to be a movie star. But it was roundabout then I was like, I think there's something else that I want and I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
And that all looks really shiny and beautiful and exciting. But there is something deeper that I think I'm going to go after. And it wasn't as black and white as that. I kind
Yeah.
of clawed on to the thing that is fame and success and everything for a while. And it was hard to let go. But when I did start to let those layers go of that character that I had created, and that character needing and wanting fame and success, when I started to let that go, it was scary because who are you if you're not Callum Blue? Who am I? What am I?
Yeah.
And so the movie reflects that. So it's a scary journey, but when you push through to the other side and kind of awaken, what I am is infinite possibility. What I am is God consciousness unfolding through itself. That's the gift.
Hmm.
So all the other things are
So
great. The money and the success and the fame, they're great. I'm not saying that's not a good thing. But for me, that wasn't
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you because it's funny you're saying this because I'm reading Walden right now by Henry
Right.
David Thoreau. And when I was, in high school, we read a segment of it, and I remember being really um, compelled by his writing. Is beautiful. And then we started. Then my husband and I ended up visiting Walden's Pond over Christmas, and I thought I'm going to get this book. I'm going to read all of it. And so I've started it. I'm maybe like a quarter of the way through. We're still in the economy part of it, but he does talk about this idea of man opening himself up and being completely um like maybe his is a more natural, like nature oriented, but almost being one with the universe, which provides that limitless feel. Like when he talks about he's like the eye and the world is in him and he's in the world and it's all coming together as one. When you're saying God consciousness is in me, is that what you're talking about kind of idea? And like the idea that God and you are the same thing as opposed to two separate entities?
100%. And
Okay.
I have to make this clear. I'm not religious. I have a cross on. This is my grandmother's cross. And everyone says, you're a Christian, you're a Catholic. I'm like, no. I have a problem with religion. And I
Hmm.
actually have a problem with parts of the Bible too. I can't get behind them segregating a group of people or saying that gay people are wrong and they deserve to be dead, and cannot get behind any of that. So I have taken a step back from any kind of religion or group, and
Mm-hmm.
found my own personal relationship with what I call God. And it says in the Bible, I and the Father are one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean. And I don't see God as a separate entity. I think that God is the collective consciousness of everything and everyone. It is the definition of omnipresence. So
Right.
it's you, it's me, it's the tree, it's the mountains, it's this, it's that, and it's beyond this realm as well. But by the way, I visited the other realms on the psychedelic journey, and God is almighty and everywhere and everything, and you can't even imagine how expansive and brilliant and fantastic it is. So I'm a part of that. I am an extension of that. I am not that, but at the same time, I am an extension of it. He or it or her imagined me, and I am here to go through my challenges and my tribulations to get closer to it and to bring the light to the world.
Yeah.
I think that's all of our jobs, and we all do it in different ways. And so that's what I mean by that. You know, people really freak out when you say, you know, God is with it. They can, you're not God, you know, because they've been taught and conditioned to think that God is separate from them. And I think that that was calculated by people along the ages, and religion has backed it up to say
Mm-hmm.
that God is outside of yourself, and it's a judging and hateful God, and you have to be a good boy. Otherwise, you're not going to go to heaven when you die. I can't get behind that. I think that it is possible to reach a state of heaven on earth. It says it in the Lord's Prayer, heaven on earth. And so when you start to wake up to that, that's when the true golden things come to you, you know. And that's why when I was on that route to success, to be this movie star or a TV star or whatever, I felt like it was a test, because it would have been great to have all those things and the
Yeah.
success and the adoration and being on the red carpet. And sometimes I still crave that, don't get me wrong. But like, I was just in a show last year called 911, and it was just such
Mm-hmm.
a it was like, it was amazing because I was trending on Twitter, and it was so
I'm
cool to
sure
be
it's
around
fun.
those cool, high vibrational TV stars and like be in the magazines again and be talked about. And so, don't get me wrong, I kind of love that stuff, but it's not the core of why I'm here
Right.
at all. Yeah.
Well, I
There's
want to
something
ask
so much deeper.
Well, I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask you if you don't mind. Obviously, I mean, you knew it kind of coming to this interview, but I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because I do attempt to try to understand what you're talking about and kind of dive into it. But obviously, like we were mentioning earlier, like even when you said mushrooms, it took me a second because I've never done psychedelics, obviously. Um, I was thinking you were talking about food for a second, which is why it took me half a minute. Um,
Well, it's food for the soul.
So I want to ask, like, how were you introduced to psychedelics? And a lot of individuals I have talked to would say psychedelics in a recreational sense, or even maybe in how you would say in a spiritual sense where you're engaging with it. Because for you, as you talk about it, it's almost a spiritual realm for you. Most individuals that I've talked to would say that recreational psychedelics is, not a safe thing to do. And if you do it, there are even hotlines people call so that they can have someone on there that if they overdose in any sort of way or engage in something and they kind of go off the radar for a bit, someone can be on there to help them get help.
Mhm.
Um, and so I want to ask, like, just for people listening, especially who are like, this is really never heard of this before. What, like, how were you introduced to it? And how would you answer if somebody's like, but psychedelics has always, like, as a recreation, how is that safe? How is that helpful? Isn't that more of an escape than it is a spiritual awakening? Because I can see those questions even rising in myself as we're talking, because I've never experienced it, and I've never seen someone handle psychedelics responsibly. So if that makes any sense.
It really does, and thank you for asking. I really want to give some clarity about this. I was introduced. I've suffered, and I think that when you are on a spiritual journey and you are getting to the point where you're understanding that God is within you, the other guy is going to be testing you. So I've experienced a lot of darkness too, and attachments, addictions, a lot of stuff. I won't go into it all,
Yeah.
but I was actually in rehab, and my friend, and she won't mind me telling you who she is because it's in her book, Captive. Her name's Catherine Oxenberg. She's a she was a TV star. She's a princess and a very high vibrational person. She picked me up from rehab and said, "Right, we're going to go and do some mushrooms." I was like, "What? You're going to pick me up from rehab for me to do drugs?" And she made it very clear. She said, I was like, what on earth are you talking about? And she made it very clear. She said, there's a very big difference between drugs and medicine. Mushrooms grow from the earth. Mushrooms are in the Bible. Mushrooms are what Noah drank before he had the visions of the ark. I was addicted to other things that were suppressing all of the trauma and all of the darkness that I had accumulated over the years. Suppressing. Mushrooms do the exact opposite. They're not easy. I wouldn't recommend them to everybody. I'm not
Hmm.
telling anybody to go and do them. I did them with a shaman 3 times before I started to do them on my own. That's very important. I would never recommend them anybody to do them recreationally in public. If you would want to do it with somebody who can take you through that journey. So that first time in Malibu with this shaman, I did it and it changed my life. I got sober. I woke up and I remembered who I was. And it's been a 10-year journey with them and other psychedelics too, like DMT, Ibogaine. And you would never want to do a session of mushrooms and then go, let's do that again. For me, I don't know. I've never heard of anybody that's addicted to them because they are so intense and they're very hard. It's hard work. It's
Hmm.
work that is therapeutic. It's work that is spiritual. I never do mushrooms and think I need that again, like I have with other substances. So there's a very
Right.
big difference between medicine and drugs, and it's not for everybody because it's
Hmm.
really hard, and sometimes it can get really, really scary and very
So
intense.
what walk me through it. What was your first time doing it like? What do you do? Like how did it and I'm not obviously people listening like this isn't for you to do kind of thing, but I'm curious asking as a story, you know, your experience. What was it like for you walking into that and going through that psychedelic experience? Like when you're talking about it being really hard and it almost sounds like even talking about some trauma maybe you even experienced in it that
Yeah.
you're experiencing again maybe what is that like if you're gonna like if someone was gonna ask you, you know, starting from the beginning to the end, how can you describe it?
First of all, you have to treat them with the utmost respect. You have to connect with Plant Mother, meditate, pray, set intentions. I would do that for an hour and a half before any journey, before I ingest them.
Okay.
Really communicate and connect to the spirit or the entity of mushrooms and set your intentions. And then you would ingest them. And then the one thing that I would say, the most important thing that I would say is that you have to surrender and let them do their thing. Because if you're going to try to control or try to fight something that's coming up, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have a hard time. So, the first experience was beautiful. The angels are real. Oh my God, the angels are right here. I could hear trumpets, I could angels. But, throughout the years, I've been able to grieve my grandmother who died when I was on my 21st birthday. I was able to grieve my father who committed suicide. I was able to meet him and say, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I was able to meet my 5-year-old child who he left when I was 5 that caused the trauma, and say to my 5-year-old child, I love you. I'm here now. I'm the father. I
I
was
see.
able to
Yeah.
meet, yeah, yeah. So it's all of these things that cause the trauma and the loops that I was talking about earlier and the stories that we are stuck in. We can unravel them. And when we start to unravel them, the character that we're playing through all the trauma that we are playing it from starts to dissipate. And for me, I just became this sort of empty space. And for a while, that was scary. But once you become empty space in the journeys and then beyond, the universe can start to flow through you. And then you get downloads. Like this movie was a download from a mushroom journey. Another really important thing that I want to say is that there's a really famous story about Ram Dass. He discovered acid in the 60s or the 70s. And he said, this is the spiritual awakening. I found God. And he took the acid to his guru in India, a big sheet of acid. You know, you only do like one little tiny bit of acid. The guru ate all of the acid, the whole sheet. And Ram Dass was like, oh my Lord, I've killed my guru. And the guru just started to laugh and said, you're so silly. You think it's that? It's not that, it's you. My point is, there's a time, which I'm in now, is that you don't need it. You don't need the psychedelics. You don't need the mushrooms. I think for me, because I was a traumatized kid, they were a necessity. I don't think I was ever going to break out of the trauma loop and the story and the character that I had created without them. However, now that I've done the work, I hardly do them. I might do one journey every 6 months or a year even.
Right.
So the work now is to connect it completely sober.
Yeah.
So they're a way in, they're a tool, but they're not the answer. The
Yeah.
answer is you. So if you've never done them and you're on a spiritual journey, that's fantastic. My personal journey was I needed something to go and wake me up. But
Right.
not everybody needs that. So I would say that too.
Well, what happened when you said you it's so interesting because I've talked to so many people and it always comes back to, childhood is such a beautiful idea. And it's something that some children really do get to experience childhood. It's a very precious time of your life when you get to there's just an innocence. Like I was thinking about the fact that, children have to be taught not to talk to strangers, but their natural ability is to just go up and say hello and shake people's hands or ask really, the other day, um just I've had kids ask me just such, it would be considered rude, I suppose, if it was done by an adult. But for a kid, like they're just asking because they're genuinely curious. Like they're just like, why are you doing that? Or why do you look that way? There's such a beauty to it. And I was going to say that the more people I've talked to, it always goes back to like most, unfortunately, I think, and I could be wrong, I don't know statistics or anything, but the people I've talked to and myself, like the childhood died at some point during the childhood. And then childhood became a memory you didn't really like. Like my husband was blessed with a very beautiful childhood. And so when he thinks about it, there were a lot of things in his life that were just really beautiful and good. And then when I think about my childhood, it's like, ugh, I don't really like to think about that much. Um, and it's it's sad, but it's just a reality. And it's more and more and more people. And it's going like you spend your whole adulthood healing the child that didn't get it when they were a child. And it's so interesting. And so I wanted to ask you, like, you said 5. And so that's so young. I don't even remember when I was 5. Thank the Lord. Probably a good thing. Um, but Can you say, in general terms, maybe what happened when you were 5 that kind of let the child die?
My dad left. My father left.
Is that when he
And
died?
he didn't die. He left
Oh,
and
he
went to look
left. Okay.
after another kid that he had had 9 months after. She was born, she's my half sister. She was born 9 months after me.
Okay.
And he went to look after her. And
And you
I
remember
truly,
that?
yeah, I remember the feeling. I don't
Hmm.
remember the details, but I remember the feeling, and it felt like my guts were dropping out of me. And I felt like, oh, I'm making my mind up right now that I am worthless and unlovable. And this is the important thing. I
Yeah.
lived my whole life with those deep beliefs. And I think a lot of us do.
Hmm.
And I have to say, another kid might have taken it better. And I think that I was a very sensitive kid. I'm still a very sensitive man. But it felt like the end of the world back then. And it still does sometimes.
Yeah.
In other words, if I'm in
Yeah.
a relationship and this person even looks at another person, my reaction is so over the top because I'm not reacting to this trigger here, that person looking at
Hmm.
that person. I'm reacting to my father leaving at 5. That same
Yeah.
trauma is running my
Hmm.
life now, unless I take a look at it.
Yeah.
So, and there was other things that happened when I was a kid as well. A lot of violence. I was born into a very violent surroundings. East London gangsters. Just remember a lot of blood and bad men, and it was very traumatized. But let's just keep with this one trauma.
Yeah.
What I do now is I use it as a golden opportunity because I don't think that there is any loss in the kingdom. What do I mean by that? I mean, everything is on purpose. I believe that we choose exactly what happens to us from birth to death. I believe that we've signed a contract, and I believe that I picked my father leaving me so that I can do this work, which is say that I get triggered. Let's take that for an
Hmm.
example. The person that I'm with cheats on me. It feels like it could be life or death because of the trauma of my 5-year-old. But now, if it happened now, what I really could do is go, thank you to this person. This is a golden opportunity for me to really feel these feelings, the deep, massive feelings that I'm feeling because of my childhood trauma at 5,
Yeah.
and go into the quantum field. What I mean by the quantum field is there's no beginning, middle, and end. It's all happening at the same time. So is your child is a reality, a vibrational reality who is existing right now feeling that way. There's no beginning, middle, end. It's a circle. This is proven science by quantum physics. So I have this ability now and this opportunity to get triggered in the outside world and go, thank you. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to hit. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go deep. I go deep and I reach out to my child's hand and I say, I love you. We're feeling like this. And I'm hearing, that's important. I'm not doing drugs or drinking or trying to suppress these emotions. I'm feeling them right now. I love you. I'm here. I'm the father. You're being heard. And by the way, and this is the great gift that my father gave me, by the way, he wasn't your father. The Father is your father,
Which is you, right?
the Father within, the
Right.
bigger I. So there's
Okay.
I, Callum Blue, who is running on trauma and stories and patterns. And when I go beyond that, I am the big I am. I am that I am. It says in the Bible, I am that I am. So when I can deal with the trauma and hold my inner child's hand and say, we're feeling this, you're okay, you're safe. When my inner child calms down, there's space for the I am that I am to flow through me. So here's the most important thing. It's the trauma that allows me to get closer to God. So it's all a
Right.
blessing, all of it. It's
Yeah.
all good news.
I guess, and for forgive me, Callum, but I mean, and you probably knew this looking at the podcast, but I'm a Christian, so I do believe God is not me, but someone else. Um, which I hope encourages you that I think one thing that's really hard in this world now is that people don't like to talk or have dialogue. So something you were talking about with religion before, where it's very perfunctory with people, and then it just shuts off when people have something else they want to share or talk about something different or have questions.
That's one of the
That
main problems in this world right
Yes,
now.
that
Yes.
is what I've wanted to break with this, because even in scripture, Christ constantly talks to people, especially people who don't think the way he thinks. And so I think it's very important to talk and to talk about our lives and our traumas and things we think about. Um, and I think it's vulnerable to do so and brave. But I was gonna say, when you're talking about because I know in a sense it's separated in your mind, that there's the I and then there's the greater I, all of which is in yourself, and so you kind of grow deeper into the I, the bigger I.
The bigger I, yeah.
Right. I was
Or
gonna
you allow it to flow through you more
Is
because
it
you are already it. You just remember.
right? I was gonna say, it you did say earlier that you have to let go of control, but I find it like you're saying that the trauma we've actually picked it before we knew we picked it, kind of thing. Isn't that, in a sense, its own control, that we have picked the bad things that have happened to us, even though consciously we don't know we picked them?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for this conversation. I'm enjoying it greatly. And even though we might be coming from different places, I think we're talking about the same thing. And also, I want to say that my experience is my experience. What I'm learning is that everybody's having a different experience on this planet. So I think people get into the trap of like, no, no, my beliefs are my, and they've got to be your beliefs. So you have to think like I think, and no, I don't believe that at all. I think that we are completely individual, and we're all having our own experience with God, or whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I would never want to like say, this is my experience, this is how it is. I'm just sharing my experience. That's all we can do, right? And one before I answer your question, another thing I want to say is there's so many beautiful things in the Bible that remind us that we are at least a part of God and that we are extensions. You are made in my likeness and image. That's one of them.
Yeah,
He says it.
that's
You are
true.
made in
Yes.
my likeness
Yeah.
and image. How much clearer can you get that you are connected to him in a way that you can't even imagine? And I think that a lot of our pain and our suffering and our rage comes from missing being at home and missing being in his under his wings. It says in the Bible, doesn't it? You can be under my wings. I
Yeah.
love that. So there's so many things in the Bible that kind of you can pick up and go, hang on, maybe I'm closer to God than I think. Maybe it's not this thing that's so far away that I'm going to meet when I die. Maybe it's something that I can connect to and allow now. So the question that you asked was the control thing. I don't think that we have control in this life. I believe that in spirit world, whatever you want to call it, wherever we came from,
Okay.
we sat down and we said, this is what I believe. How can we get closer to you on a physical planet that's filled with evil and destruction and killing and terror and trauma and murder? And how do I go to that planet that is I think it's like the biggest and best teaching school that we can go to out of all the planets in the universe. How do I go there
Yeah.
and get closer to you? How do I go there and remember who I am and where I'm from? And we write a contract. And for me, I don't remember being there, but I kind of remember going, I want to really work hard to get closer to you. So I'm going to pick a father that leaves me when I'm five. Not only that, he's going to come back into my life at 15. I'm going to start to trust him again. And then he's going to kill himself before I'm doing this big, massive Hollywood job.
I'm so sorry.
Here's the
That's
thing.
so
Thank
hard.
you for being sorry, but this is my point. It was the biggest blessing in the world. That's the point that I'm at now. I can look back at that and go, oh, that makes sense. I chose that. He played his part perfectly. This is what my movie is about. He played his part perfectly. I can choose two ways. I can be the victim and go, my dad did this and my dad did that, poor me, poor me. Or I can go, I actually think that this is an opportunity
Yeah. Could you do
and I'm going to take it.
both? Because
Uh,
I guess I was gonna ask, and maybe you mean to say this and I just missed it, but I was gonna say, couldn't you do both? Because I mean, because like my mom tried to die, but I happened to be there at the time, and so I prevented her from doing that in a way. Um, and I think back on it, and I definitely would say that good has come from that in my life. That there's been things that empathy that has grown, communication with individuals who have experienced that. Um, but at the same time, I grieve it. And I know someone said to me once before, well, you know, parents just do the best they can. So no matter what the situation is, they did the best they could. But I think it's fair to say they didn't do the best they could, but, you know, that's okay because of God. Um, but at the same time, it doesn't release the blame that is rightly there. Like the fact that your father left you and the fact that your father chose to die, those aren't good things, but they could result in good outcomes for you later on down the road. But I would think at the same time, wouldn't it be okay to still say it's wrong?
of course, listen, the most important part of this journey for me was to feel it, was to feel the abandonment,
Hmm.
to grieve, to feel the rage and the anger. I suppressed all of that for a very long time, and it did not end up well for me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to pretend it's not happening and make out it's a good thing without going through the dual process. And for me, that process was I had to face how that made me feel. And it
Yeah.
was terrible. It was like I was being ripped apart. It it was about 5 or 6 years ago when somebody left me, and that was the trigger. It was like, this person left me. This reminds me of my father leaving me.
Hmm.
Shit. You
Hmm.
got two choices: suppress it with drugs and alcohol and die. So that's the point I was at. Or finally, for once, face it. I was in Palm Springs and I was in the mountains every single day. And the
Hmm.
noises that were coming out of me were not even human. They were ancestral. Honestly, like the rage,
Oh
the
yeah.
abandonment, the noises that were coming out of me was like, where is this coming from? This can't be all mine. It was like an animal.
Yeah, it's like groans of deep pain.
Oh, how beautifully put. How beautifully
It's
put. Deep,
been
deep
there.
pain. Yeah, I'm sure you have, because you know what?
I not in the
Because,
mountains. You're very brave. Didn't go to the mountains for that
well, one day somebody heard me and they called search and rescue, and there was a helicopter going around because I was
though.
screaming so much.
You're like, go
So I would,
away.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend going to the mountains because people hear you. But what you just said was so beautiful, and what I want to add to that is that when I got through the part, okay, it started off with this person leaving me. It felt like the end of the world. Then it
Mhm.
got to, oh, it's too big because I've only known this person for a couple of years. It must be my father leaving me. And that was deep. It was like, oh my God. It took a couple of months of me purging. That's the word, purging these emotions. The the fear, the rage. Rage is a really good, because I was rageful that he left me. I was rageful that
Mhm.
he left me twice, abandoned me twice. Are you kidding? Then I got to the point, and this changed my life. I was on the mountain, and I said, and this, by the way, this is the way I talk to God. It might offend a lot of people, but I'm like, God, I effing hate you. Why would you take my father away from me at 5 years old? And then at the height of my success, you took him away from me again. And then my career spiraled. I just blamed and blamed and blamed and blamed. I was like, F you, I hate you, God. And I heard very, very clearly, he was not your father. I am, and I never left you.
Hmm.
And that was the gift. Do you see?
Mhm.
Because now, most of the time, I'm unshakable. Because once you understand that God is a separate thing, of course, I'm not almighty. I'm just a human being. I'm Callum Blue. I'm weak. I have temptations. I fail all the time. I I get tricked all the time. I'm sinful. And when I say sinful, I mean I'm not living up to the best version of myself. Like, that's me. But I have flashes of, I remember where I come from. And when I am that I am comes through me, because I've purged all the trauma, I'm unshakable. Not just unshakable, I can do anything. I can be anything.
Mhm.
I can manifest anything. I'm still learning. I'm at the beginning stages. But trust me, like, we have no idea how powerful we are. Every single one of us. And this is what my movie is about. And it is my intention to release this movie so that people can watch that and have an awakening and go, oh, I remember where I come from. I remember. I'm part of it all. I'm part of the omnipresence of it all. I am infinite possibility. We are so much bigger and so much more capable than we think. And we're not unworthy. And we're not unlovable. It's a lie. It's a lie that you have to go through to get to the truth, but it's a lie. And when we live on that, we are living so tiny. Here's a great analogy. I love this analogy. You have the ocean.
Mhm.
You take a drop out of the ocean, and you think that you are that drop. Tiny, with none of the resources of the ocean. What are you going to do with this little tiny drop? You might have a nice life. You might just roll along nicely. What people don't understand is, if you put that drop back into the ocean, you become the whole ocean. It's you. You're a part of it. And you have all the resources, all the food, all the life, all the possibilities of the entire ocean. Imagine that. That's what we are. And we forget. And we have to start to remember, because when we start to remember, this world is going to shift into a new earth. And it's up to us to remember how powerful we are so we can fight the evil. And there's a lot of evil. You agree with that, right? Going on. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, so
I
it's up to people like me and you, by the way, because this podcast, I've listened to some of it. It's beautiful. Well done. This is what we need, getting this stuff out there. So well done. You're doing it.
Oh, thank you. I you know, what keeps sticking at me though is if you why like for me, right? So I'm going to say you would say that the drop is part of the ocean, therefore making it the ocean, right? In a big
Yeah.
sense. And I would say that I'm created in the image of God, like you said earlier, which is what makes humans valuable and full of dignity. And the fact that no people group is more special or more better than anyone else. But at the same time, I feel like I get the comfort that like even if I'm not the ocean, God's the ocean. But at the same time, he made me in his image, and all the power that God has, he gives to me in the sense of being saved from my sinfulness and being able to draw upon the powers he has to live life. Because similar to you, in the sense of how I've had to go through purging, as you put it, of these things in my life and still do, of the hurts I've experienced. Like, I know that God is perfect, and so all the people that have failed me have never been him. So that's so comforting and encouraging, and he gives that strength to me. And so what I find interesting is I don't, and I maybe this goes back to the beginning, what you said, is it is the structure or the sense of religion itself you don't like because of the many things you've seen that people have done in the name of religion. And so that has, for you, you want to separate, like, for instance, you wouldn't say, I'm not a Christian because of these things, but I do believe in this higher power that connects to myself, because in many ways we overlap, but in other ways we don't, in the sense that you really do believe that the bigger I, is like encompassing you and you kind of blend into it. Whereas I do think they're very distinct, but one can draw from the other in the sense of like, oh, the power that God has, I can have. The confidence God has, he gives me because of his son, because of the fact that I'm going to live eternally and my soul will last. So that's what I wonder, because I'm listening to and I'm like, this, he really like does not have any problem with this spiritual sense, but when it comes to like the Christian sense that we talked about, like talking about Christianity or the tenets of it, what you said earlier is that, you don't want to be labeled that. And yet many of the ideas you're expressing are in the Bible, or like very, you know, um, they do have a lot of truths in them. And so I think it's confused. There's a part of me, it's like, I wonder why he doesn't want to be a Christian, or like, like, does that, and I hope, like, not to offend you, but like, you seem to really, like you want a relationship with God. And so I find it interesting that, yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good question. What is it? Because I'd love to know, what is it about Christianity? I know you mentioned earlier about homosexuality in the Old Testament, how, it was, people were killed, and you mentioned that. Um, was there a point in your life where you were like, no, never going to take on any sort of religion?
What
That
a
was
beautiful
really
question.
long.
Yeah, but I think I got it. I'm in a very lonely, isolated place because I'm not with the religious people, and I'm not with the people who are atheists and are not religious. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I really feel bad for the people who are not religious, who get turned away from the gold that is in the Bible and Jesus's teachings, because there are certain things in the book. I can read that book and go, that doesn't feel right to me. That's not something for me, for my experience of God, that sounds right. And the way I'm going to describe it is, the reason I've been so averse to religious groups is because I think when a bunch of people come together, humans,
Mm-hmm.
come together in a group, the darkness cannot help but infiltrate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean religion. You can look at the Catholics, you can look at any religion,
Mm-hmm.
and there is darkness in it.
Yeah.
So I'm not adverse to it. I go to churches, I do go to services. I just don't need a human being to get me connected to God. So when there are preachers up on that stage, I can take in what they're saying and go, that sounds great, that sounds great. But I'm not one of these people that need that person, that human being, that imperfect human being. Even, even the priests are imperfect. I'm sorry, but we all are. Like you just said, I
Very
agree with you.
true.
Only God is perfect. I personally do not need a group of people or a preacher to connect me with God. I have had experiences with God, and by the way, Jesus. I love Jesus. And when I say that to the non-believers and they're like, oh, so you must be a staunch Christian Catholic. No, I've had experiences that I cannot even begin to explain. He is real.
Hmm.
He is an energy that I connect to all the time and ask for help. And another thing I want to address in your question is that I think we're saying the same thing. I do not think that I am God. Callum Blue, this character, this body walking around. I don't think that. What I think is that I have access, like you said, to the strength, to the clarity. Clarity is one of my favorite words. And to the experience of his power and his might. Sometimes, not all the time, because I'm human. I don't think it's possible. Maybe there's some monk up on a mountain who doesn't interact with the whole world, who is connected to God all the time. But if you're in the world and you're around people and you get triggered all the time, there's no way you can stay in that state. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is I've had flashes and remembrance of where I'm from and how much God loves me. Not just loves me, but is. Oh, I heard this beautiful thing last night. When you start to understand that when you pray, it is God praying to himself through you. That really, I understand that. Because sometimes when I'm praying, I expand and the world expands. When you start to pray, not beg, like, please, God, when you start to state that I am this, I am that, I am made in his likeness and image, then things start to expand. And I think that that's our job. And I think that that's our job through the trauma and the tribulations that we have agreed to go through. So what are our choices? We can look back on the trauma of your mother. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, by the way. That must have been horrendous. And my heart goes out to you. I really do have pure empathy for that. That as a child as well, to deal with something that humongous, that must have been really scary for you, really. But what are our two choices? We go through something like that and it breaks us. And I'm not judging anybody who it breaks. Life is difficult. Oh my God, like seriously, where are we? We're on
Hmm.
a spinning rock with all this evil and corruption and murder and death in the world. And we're supposed to what? Find God? Are you kidding? How? So what are our choices? We crumble and we fall and we give up, or do we go, that happened, it wasn't nice, I'm gonna feel the feelings and I'm gonna alchemize it. That's the true word of alchemy. I'm gonna alchemize it. I'm gonna take something terrible and disgusting and traumatizing, and I'm going to turn that into gold. That's all
Hmm.
I'm saying. And
Yeah.
that stuff, that trauma can, if you're willing to feel the trauma of it and the emotions of it, it can get you closer to the Father. Because when you purge, like you have been doing, what do? You create empty space. What does empty space mean to God? There's some empty space. What do we do together now? We're co-creating with the creator of the universe, the 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 energy that created worlds and sculpted moons and created the whole cosmos. We are co-creating with that. Are you kidding? There's nothing better. So that's what I mean when I and the Father are one. But it's not all the time. It's hardly ever, actually, because I'm not very good at it. I'm
I
weak.
was, well, I was gonna say, when your movie comes out, please tell me, or tell the world or something, so people can see it, because I think your movie is hitting on some very important things that we need to think about and look less about what is around us and think more about what's going on internally. That's huge.
Absolutely.
And so I would very
Absolutely.
much, please, tell people, because we would very much like to see it.
I definitely will. And if God has anything to do with it, then it's going to be a huge success. I have to just tell you one story. About 6 years ago, I told you that person left me. I'd run out of money. I was just about to be kicked out of my Airbnb. Um, I didn't have anywhere to go. I had this movie idea. I had the script for the short movie. And I said to God, listen, dude, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. You want me to make this movie? Are you kidding? You're taking all this stuff away from me? I had a car. It was my favorite car, Golf GTI. I loved this car. I was like, well, God, at least I have a car. Thank you for that. But I trust you. You're going to do whatever you need to do to get this movie made. I crashed my car the next day. It was a write-off. It was a write-off. But the woman that I crashed the car into, I'm going to cry. I might cry in a minute. The woman I
Oh,
crashed
God
my car in,
forbid.
God forbid, the woman I crashed my car into not just put me up in a $3 million mansion in Palm Springs that I still have access to. I can live there whenever I want. She gave me another car, a Tesla,
Huh. Wow.
and she made my movie. She gave me the money to make my movie.
Wow.
Now, if that doesn't prove that there is a God, I don't know what will. I was at rock bottom, but I was willing. I was like, God, I'm willing. You have me. You have me. You have all of me. I don't know how to do this on my own. I'm about to get kicked out. I've run out of money, no car, no partner. And then he crashes me into this woman who puts me up, feeds me, puts me in this mansion, gives me a beautiful car, and makes my movie. You could not make that up.
No.
So I think
Yeah.
my point is that when you don't follow the parade of fame and money and success, that's how I see it, as a parade, like the adoration on the red carpet and all the attention. And by the way, I loved it all, but I knew it was coming from trauma of not being loved, so that was replacing the love. But there was a
Yeah.
point in my life, yeah, but there was a point in my life where I was like, this isn't real. What is real? God is real. When you get to that point, God creates miracles in his way and in his time. So that is just one example of many that I have, that when you surrender and you go, I'm yours, and you create empty space by purging the trauma, God can work miracles through you. And that's what I mean by I and the Father are one. We are co-creators.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, this will be one of my highlights of this year. It's been such a gift to talk with you and to hear what you've experienced also about this movie, and then the story you just shared. I mean, I'm thinking that would be a good movie. I don't know if maybe you need to be at a different place then, depending on, if you want everyone to know that. I don't know. But at the same time, I think that would be a very powerful movie. Um, about how you made this movie in a movie. It's like going back to your movie.
Yeah, a movie
Um,
within a movie within a
yeah,
movie.
but it's been such a gift, and I'm so grateful that you'd want to talk about it and take time, and that just means a ton. So I'm so grateful. Thanks for
It means a
doing
ton
this.
for you to ask me.
Oh,
And
I'm glad.
I think you're doing a fantastic job. Keep on going. We need more light in this world and more people like you. And God bless you. And I'll be praying for you and your success and your expansion and your journey.
And I'll be keeping an eye out for your movie.
Please
So
do. It's going to
don't,
be,
yeah, don't post it on the mountains. Maybe make it a little closer to everyone so we can.
I'll give access to a few people more. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. If God has anything to do with it, this movie is going to be life-changing. For many people, that's my intention. So, you heard it here first.
I heard it here. All right. Bye. Thank you
Bye.
so
God bless.
much.
You too. Bye.